Hello, everyone. My name is Lexi, and this is a Sincerely Self podcast. We've unlocked a new location, and I'm sitting on the ground. I don't know. It just feels more personal this way, I guess. First off, though, I do want to kind of mention gratitude with Thanksgiving and just like the holiday season. We just barely had Thanksgiving yesterday. I hope everyone had so much fun. I don't know why there's really like a season for being compassionate and for being caring and for being selfless and caring about everyone else just because you should, just out of the greatness of your heart and treating people how you want to be treated. I think that should be a year-round thing that we aim to be like, especially with what's going on in the world around us. I'm not going to get super into it because I am very vocal about it on my other social medias. Use your voice and use your privilege to speak up for those who are being silenced. Like I said, I can't get super into it on the episode. I don't want it to get taken down. Use your resources, educate yourself, and speak up for those who are being silenced. For the fact of they're human, away from the greed, away from the egotistical manners of the world, get back to just being caring, to being selfless, to being helpful. I genuinely feel like that's part of life, is treating people with compassion and being thankful and being grateful and being very humble and using what you have made to help others. I think that's something to think about, I guess, after you listen to this episode, while you're listening to this episode, just something to ponder on, how can you use your voice to help others around you? With that being said, let's get right into this week's episode. We're going to be talking about how mindset is everything, how your mindset controls every single aspect of your life, because I don't think we realize how most of us have negative thoughts going on in our mind. To be honest, most of us are thinking very negative things or doing the comparison or having the lack mindsets, which I'm going to get into what all of those things are, but that's the biggest thing with shifting your mindset, is making the conscious decision to change it. And that's the hardest part. No one ever said growth was easy. Growth is hard, but so is staying in the same place and being miserable. So at the end of the day, you just got to decide, am I better being comfortable and unhappy, or would I rather go through the discomfort and grow? We are only ever going to grow if we become uncomfortable. You're never going to grow if you stay in the same place. It sucks. It sucks and it's hard, but it is so worth it, and it will improve your life. It'll improve your mental health. It'll improve every single aspect of your life. And yeah, like I said, we're going to get into it, but I just wanted to start it off by saying it is not easy. And if someone's like, growth is so easy, they're freaking lying. A lot of these people out here, like with the self-help podcasts, don't really say, I don't know, the how hard it can be, or just like get real with it. They're just like, do all these things, but it's so much easier said than done. It really takes a lot of grit and a lot of dedication. So that's why I'm telling you, you gotta make the decision that I want to change my life. I want to be able to accomplish all the dreams that I have. I want to grow into this person that I know I can be. So you have to be willing to work towards it. And this is coming from someone who had to do that myself. So that's why I want to keep it real with you and not make it seem like sugar and rainbows and butterflies, because it is really hard. But I'm going to give you some methods that I use that really, really help me, and just put it into more of a perspective where, yes, it's hard, but you see how much you can reap the benefits from it. Okay, first thing I want to talk about with this is a book that changed my life. The book is The Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He really brings in the neuroscience aspect of manifestation, because I feel like manifestation and just all of that and creating your reality, it just has such a stigma around it. Like, oh, she's a crystal girl. Like, oh, she has tarot cards, all this stuff. Like, he brings in the neuroscience, all of the studies behind it. It is all about your belief systems, and it is how you're an alchemist. An alchemist is a creator. He really focuses on, hey, you're creating your reality. Studies prove You are creating your reality. What are you going to do with it? And that's the approach that we're going to be taking with mindset and manifestation and all of that today, just the realness behind it. So in his book, he talks a lot about how your thoughts that are running through your head are running through your unconscious mind. We have our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind controls about 90% of what is going on around us. It controls all of our thoughts throughout the day, which affects our emotions, right? Which affects how we are showing up in the world. So we have to become conscious of our unconscious thoughts, which is hard. It takes a lot of noticing the little thought patterns that are going through your head throughout the day. So let me give you an example. If you're sitting there and you are just worrying and feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough, no one's ever going to love me, nothing ever goes right for me, that is what you are going to see in your life. You are creating situations that are going to confirm that belief for you. That is your belief system now. And your subconscious is going to provide you with situations that are going to show that for you. Over and over and over again, you will encounter situations that will solidify that for you. Specifically, the one that I've seen the most is I have such bad luck. That is something that I used to think all the time and that I used to say all the time is I have such bad luck, like nothing ever goes right for me, all this stuff. And so I would be put in situations where nothing was ever going right for me to solidify my belief system. Basically, you are going to be presented in your reality with things that will solidify the thoughts that you are thinking in your head. So now it's like, how are we going to control those? The first thing is to become conscious of them so you catch them in the moment. When you're daydreaming, when you're sitting and thinking and just having the thoughts running through your head in the day, try and become more aware of noticing what ones you're thinking, specifically when they're negative. Picking that up and being like, okay, wait, do I really want that in my reality? Like, regardless of if that's what you believe right now or not, the key to changing your thoughts and changing your reality, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but that's kind of what it is. The repetition is what's going to get through to your unconscious mind. So the more you're repeating these positive things to yourself, the more that's going to become your belief system. That's how it was with the negative thoughts that you have running through your head. So to change them, you have to decide to start thinking those positive thoughts instead. So I would catch myself in the negative thought and be like, wait, no, I always have enough money for everything that I need. I am doing perfectly fine just where I am. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. That one is one that I really, really love to do because it's really easy to feel like you're not accomplishing fast enough. For some reason, we feel like we have a time limit for what we need to accomplish, but remembering that nothing is a coincidence and you are exactly where you're supposed to be at all times, experiencing things that are going to create you into the person you need to be, which we kind of talked about that last week. That is what you need to be focusing on. The fact that nothing is a mistake and you are exactly where you're supposed to be and you are accomplishing things right on time. As long as you are following your intuition and trying your best to do things that are benefiting you, you are on track and you will become the person who can do these things you want to accomplish. Another example of that is me starting this podcast. Literally, I got put in awful situations I viewed as awful, situations I viewed as hard, that gave me the confidence and the resilience to pursue something like this because me, even 6 months ago, could have never. I was way too scared. So, having that grit to tell yourself, okay, wait, no, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm accomplishing things exactly how I'm supposed to be. I'm right on track. I am doing a good job. Little things like that. Any way you can flip your thought and make it positive, just doing that over and over and over, it is a very conscious and tiring thing at first. I'm not going to lie to you. It takes a lot of energy at first and a lot of focus to be able to catch yourself in those, but eventually it becomes muscle memory that you start immediately catching yourself in those and thinking something else. And then eventually, I mean, everyone still has negative thoughts. Like, those don't go away, but they will be very few and far in between because you become so self-aware at that point. You're like, hey, if I'm thinking these negative things, I'm going to be creating that in my reality, and I don't want to be doing that. It even comes down to when you're driving in traffic. Something that I would do, okay, no offense if you drive a truck, but I would be like, truck drivers always cut me off. They're always driving crazy. They never signal. They're always doing this, doing that. I also was in a car accident with a truck, so then I extra had beef with trucks. And so I had that belief system in my head. And guess what? Trucks were showing up for me like that. I was running into trucks that were like that. So then I started changing my belief system and being like, it is just the situations that I'm creating in my head. If I'm telling myself all truck drivers are like this, then I'm only going to run into truck drivers that are like that because that's going to solidify my belief system. So I started changing it and being like, some people are just not good drivers. Sorry, truth be told, but I started changing it and being like, I always run into good drivers, I never have any hassle. And now the bad truck drivers I run into are far and few in between. I don't run into as many as often. And that's still something I get hung up on. Sorry. You create the situations that you run into. Now we're going to talk about it in a relationship aspect because I don't know, you guys seem to like when I talk about that. So just relationships and love and all of that jazz. If you have the belief system that all men are bad or all girls are bad and they're all players and they all use you and they're all cheaters and liars, guess what? That's exactly how they're going to show up for you. I hate to say it, and I'm not excusing anyone's actions, but you are going to attract people who act that way. If you start believing that guys love to take me on dates, guys are very respectful to me, I only run into men who cherish me and treat me correctly, or I only run into girls who treat me correctly and treat me how I deserve to be treated, and I'm able to show up in relationships how they deserve to be treated, I only run into mutual connections. You will start running into amazing people, and I can verify that because I used to be that person that was like, fuck men, they're all so awful, they're all liars and cheaters. And guess what? Every single guy I would run into would end up being that way because that was the belief system I had. I was attracting men who were like this. And no one's perfect, right? People are going to do things that upset you, but when it comes to attracting people who are just not good for you, you are going to keep doing it over and over and over until you change your belief system. One person or a handful of people do not justify an entire group. There's so many people in the world. You cannot have the belief system that all men are like that or all girls are like that. So start changing your belief system to what you want to see in your life, and that's what you will see. I challenge you to start changing the belief systems around everything in your life to see how much it changes. It is drastic. Seriously. Another thing I want to talk about with mindsets is you don't see what you want, you see who you are. People are going to show up for you how you think they should, which is kind of what we were just talking about, right? People are going to be what you believe they should be. And something else with that is if someone makes you feel insecure or upsets you or says something that really, really bugs you, try and think, what is it about this person that bothers me? Because it's hitting an insecurity for you. That's what it is. Everyone is just a projection of you. So, if, like I said, if something's making you feel insecure or something's making you upset about a person and you can't pinpoint what it is, try and think about what it could be because like I said, it's an insecurity you have and it's bringing it to light. So for you to be like, I just don't like them, like da da da, like, okay, why don't you like them then? Because it's something with you, genuinely. Obviously, we have times when we're like, this person's so annoying, da da da, but why are they annoying to you? What is it about them that bothers you? It's hitting some point of your subconscious mind that you are unaware of, and it is bringing it to your awareness. So once you start viewing the world in the lens of everything is showing up how I am, not how I want, it'll be so much easier to start changing your mindsets. Now we're going to talk about lack mindsets and victim mindsets. Lack mindset, pretty much, which I talked about winner mindset and lack mindset last week, but we're going to be talking about it in a different light this time. Lack mindset is viewing like I never have enough of something, there's never enough going around. Like if you're trying to succeed in something, let's say you're trying to start a business, well, there's so many people who have started this business already, there's no way that I'm going to accomplish it. That's a lack mindset. Or there's never going to be enough money for me to do this. I'm never going to have a job where I can make that much money to do this. Everything is a mindset. We live in a working class world, unfortunately, but If you change your mindset around money and around success, you will be presented with opportunities that will give you that money and give you that success. So, for example, money mindset is something that I have struggled with my whole life. I come from a family that struggled financially a lot. I was on food stamps and got the free school lunches before it was a real thing. I was thrifting before it was cool, bae. Like all of that. And so I've just grown up with such a lack mindset around money. That's the thing, is a lot of these lack mindsets that we have around money, around business, around hobbies, around ourselves are inherited from when we were growing up, which, like, it's not like our parents were like, "Oh, you are going to struggle with this." But it just kind of happens, right? It's just a thing that happens. You absorb what you view growing up, right? And so I've always had a very bad lack mindset around money. And that's something I still struggle with to this day. But when I made the conscious choice to start working on it, and even if I didn't believe it in the moment, I'd be like, okay, no, I have enough money for this bill. Like, money will come to me. I don't need to worry about it. Like, there's more than enough money going around. Like, everything is energy, okay? Like, I'm hoping this is hitting the right point in you guys so I'm not sounding crazy loco, but seriously, when you start believing like I am presented with opportunities that give me enough money for this, you will be genuinely. So, like, I was really, really struggling financially. I had student loans, I had car loans. My rent was so expensive at my old place. I was struggling every single month to make it. I was so worried I would not make my rent every month, but somehow, I mean, I still didn't have a lot of money, but somehow I would still make my bills every month. And then when I was still like really, really hung up on it, I'd be like, no, I am presented with opportunities that I am able to make a lot of money. I'm presented with opportunities where I am able to be financially comfortable. I was presented with going to the oil rig randomly. And like I said, I already talked about that experience, but that gave me a lot of money really quick. And it was something that I never would have thought of. And the thing is, when you are presented with situations that you have kind of manifested, right? You've been changing your thoughts around it so that you could be presented with these things, and you don't have specific situations in mind. That's the key. You are just thinking of a specific outcome almost and fully, wholeheartedly believing it. Repeating it to yourself as many times as you need until you fully, wholeheartedly believe it, and then it will come. But you don't know how it's going to come and you don't know when it's going to come. That's the key, is being comfortable and not knowing that, because it's always something you could have never expected, and there's so many synchronicities around it. So when I went to North Dakota, I got invited by my friend Taylor, whose family owns an oil rig, right? I had no idea about this, first off. And then she tells me a little bit about her family. I've been really looking into being a life coach, and I had been looking into starting a podcast for the longest time. And then Taylor tells me also, she goes, my mom is a life coach and she has a podcast. If you guys want to listen to Karen Ewing's podcast, it is the Midlife Chaos. I love her. She's such an amazing woman. That was a synchronicity. I'm like, what? That's exactly what I'm wanting to do. Like, what are the odds with that? And it was exactly in a time period where I could have done it. And we both were going for just a short amount of time, but I made the exact amount of money that I needed. Like, it was just crazy how many synchronicities were there to kind of show me that, like, okay, I know that I kind of created the situation. So that's something fun to look at with situations. Also, angel numbers. I want to do a whole episode just on angel numbers, because anyone who knows me knows I love angel numbers. I have 2 angel number tattoos. I am that person that's going to point them out, because I genuinely believe we have spirit guides or angels that are looking over us and kind of guiding us. And it makes life feel less hard when you know there's people who are rooting for you, or energies that are rooting for you. Angel numbers are a sequence of numbers. It doesn't have to be like 222, 333. It can be like 1010 or 44, or it's just some sequence of numbers that you see repeatedly. And it's in your face. Like, you cannot avoid it. Like, there's no explanation for how much you are seeing this number. that's when you know that the angels are reaching out to you. So what I like to do is I like to look it up. I will look it up and see what it means. And I don't know, I've heard from many different podcasters, I guess, that like, oh, don't look it up, do look it up. I feel like just do what feels right for you. I look them up, and what's fun for me is that every time I look it up, it's something different, but it's something that resonates with what I'm doing in that moment. So when you see that number, think or try and pause and be like, hey, what am I thinking about right now? What am I doing right now? Because it's something to do with either what you're thinking or what you're doing in that moment or who you're with. A lot of the time, it's just a sign you're on the right track or a sign to trust your instincts. Like, yes, you're thinking the right thing. Or sometimes it's, okay, you need to refocus. You're focusing too much on the bad day type of ordeal. Once you start using these type of synchronicities and signs to your benefit, you will be able to start changing your life a little easier. It feels a lot less lonely when you know you're getting a lot of support and help from energies, you know what I mean? I recently had one of my friends come to me and she was telling me like I've been seeing 444 a lot, like, and she was so excited about it. Like, it's so exciting when you first start noticing it because there's no explanation other than this is your sign. It's so in your face. Like, it will be obnoxious how much you see them until you recognize it and accept it. Like, when it is the time for you to start recognizing these things and becoming self-aware, and if you're listening to this podcast, I'm thinking you're stumbling upon that time. This has to do with the spiritual awakening, and I feel like angel numbers and synchronicities are usually around the beginning of your spiritual awakening, your spiritual journey. If you guys want to learn more about that, I have an episode on spiritual awakenings. I think it's like the 3rd episode or something. So that's something you can go check out after this if you think you may be going through one of those. Accepting the synchronicities and the guidance almost. Change is only as scary as you make it and only as uncomfortable as you make it. So once you recognize that you are being supported in this, it doesn't make it feel so scary. So if you have a number that you see all the time, I recommend looking it up and just seeing what it means. Now let's talk about the victim mindset because I mentioned that about 10 million years ago. The victim mindset is when you start thinking things happen to you. And I'm saying it's easy, right? When everything is going wrong, it's so easy to be like, what? Why do these things always happen to me? Like, why do people always screw me over? Why do I always end up in bad situations? Like, why do I always get cheated on? Why do I always get lied to? It's so easy and honestly a normal reaction to become a victim in the mindset of it. But if you want to use your situations to your benefit and grow from them, I want you to use this sentence anytime that happens. Things happen for me, not to me. I'm going to say that one more time. Things are happening for me, not to me. When you start believing that when things go wrong, it's somehow in your benefit and you just don't know yet, life will feel so much different. Things don't feel so hard and so intense, you know? You go through a breakup, you lose a friendship, you lose a job, things are literally going awful. It doesn't feel so intense when you start recognizing, okay, well, I guess this thing must not be serving me anymore. And by that I mean it's not helping me grow any farther. I've grown the most that I can with this thing or this person in my life. Now it's time for me to move on to something else. And I don't know what that is, but I'm trusting in whether you believe in universe, source, God, energy, anything, regardless of what you believe in. If you're thinking, okay, I'm trusting in the universe that there must be something better coming for me, right? Because energy has to be replaced with different energies. So if you're believing that it's something better, then it will be something better. If you're believing that it's something worse, then it will be something worse. So try and reframe and be like, okay, things are happening for me, not to me. I trust the universe that things will get better and things are going to turn out good. And that's when the synchronicities pop in. That's when the good situations come in. And that's when things will be replaced for something better. Another thing I want to talk about is a fresh place or a fresh start isn't always something new, you know? The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's green where you water it. You don't always have to go do something new to grow. Sometimes it just takes evaluation. Sometimes it just takes change, but you don't always have to drop everything and go somewhere else. That's something I'm really bad with is I'm like, "Oh, I need to change, so let me just drop everything and start fresh." Like, you don't always have to do that. The grass is green where you water it. So if you feel like you don't want to leave where you're at, like let's say you need a fresh start, but you don't want to leave your town, maybe move into a different apartment or rearrange your room. Sometimes you haven't outgrown something, you've just outgrown how it's showing up for you right then. Or a relationship. Maybe it just takes a little bit of reevaluation, whether that be platonic or romantic. Just reevaluate and be like, can we add new boundaries in this relationship, or different aspects, or do different things, or talk some things out? When things are left unsaid, a lot of the time it can get to that point where it feels like I need to just leave. So maybe have the tough conversations, and then if you still feel uncomfortable and feel like, I don't know how I'm feeling with this, then maybe it's time to leave. But it's always good to just evaluate first and be like, does this need a fresh start, or does it just need a kind of review and a revamp? Like when you live in an old house and you redo everything in it and just make it look new, that type of vibe. Like home is where you make it. A couple more different mindset shifts you can make when you are having a lack mindset. Let's say you have a job interview. Let's give an example. Let's say you have a job interview and you are just thinking, I'm never going to get the job. There's no way I could get this. They're going to think someone else is better. If you are thinking that, you might not get the job because you are creating situations that are going to solidify that belief that you are instilling in yourself with these negative thoughts. So I'm going to stop you right there, and we're going to switch that around. Instead of how bad can it get, switch it to how good can it get. And this works for any type of negative thought. Immediately catch it when you're thinking about how bad something can go. Instead of thinking those things, think, how good can it get? How much can I help this relationship grow? Or how much can I develop with this person? Or how good could this person treat me? Or how good could I do at this job, or how well could this interview go? That's a really fun one that I like to do because it also helps calm you down. If you're constantly having these negative thoughts, you are constantly in fight or flight. You feel anxious all the time, and it is the worst feeling ever, constantly feeling like something's going to go wrong. So try and reframe it into how good can it get, because it will also help calm you down when you're thinking about all the good things that could happen instead of the bad things. If you're reframing your mindset to be positive, you will genuinely feel so much better. I said this before, but I've struggled with mental health issues my entire life. I've been diagnosed with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. Pretty much like I just get really into black and white thinking, affects me a lot, specifically in relationships. And I used to think that it was very, very determining factor in my life, and it was just something that defined me. But ever since I started reframing my mindset around it, because it also has a lot of positive things with it. Like if you have BPD, you love people wholeheartedly with everything in you, every ounce of you. You love them, and you're very caring towards others. You're very attentive towards other people's feelings. I started thinking of the positive aspects of it instead of focusing on the negative, and now I show up more with the positive aspects. Yes, I still struggle, right? But not nearly as much at all. And I'm able to show up. I mean, I've been single for a hot second, but when I've been going on dates with guys, or anything like that, I'm able to show up in those situations so much healthier because I'm thinking about it from a much better place of mind. I also used to take antidepressants, and I've gotten to the point where I don't need to take them anymore. And I took them for years, like 2, 3 years, and I stopped, and I'm doing fine. I'm not saying you have to stop those things, and I'm not saying it's not normal to struggle, because it is very normal to struggle, and it is very good to be on antidepressants or anxiety medication if it helps you. But I was able to get to the point with my mindset that I didn't need them anymore, and I still have bad mental health days, and I still have days that I struggle, but not nearly as much. I used to have panic attacks almost every single day. It got to the point they were so bad that I would like have them while driving, and I'd have to call someone to come and pick me up multiple times. And I've gotten to the point, I don't think I've had a panic attack since maybe January of this year, maybe before then. A long time, because I've been able to shift my mindset with these things that I just shared with you. So, with that being said, I'm also been trying to make the episodes a little bit longer. So, fingers crossed, after editing, this one will still be pretty long. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you like the living room view, if I should film here again. I've been filming in my room, but which is fine. I like filming in my room, but I don't know. I think it's fun to switch it up. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out every single time I post a new video. If you guys are listening to this episode, make sure you give it 5 stars and hit the little bell so that you get notified every single time I upload an episode. With that being said, I will see you guys next week.